Namaste. Welcome to our podcast, The Golden Age of Peace. After the coronavirus has swept around the world, many people have been devastated. Many have died. Many have become ill. People have lost their husbands, their wives. Some people have lost children. Many people, millions of people, have lost their jobs, are now unemployed. The number of people applying for unemployment is astronomical. And there's no end in sight. We don't know how much longer this will last. It truly is a tragedy. But there have been enlightened masters from both the East and the West who predicted this. They made prophecies. One was Paramahansa Yogananda, who was born in 1893 and died in 1952. He made a prophecy on the world crisis that was coming. Today we're going to talk about his prophecy. And it's all not doom and gloom. He predicted that a glorious time was coming for the human race. And the other master was Peter Deunov of Bulgaria. We're going to talk about him later. Both of them said that a world crisis the likes of which we could not imagine was coming to the earth, but a golden age was dawning. And that's what Tara and I believe. We've believed it our whole life. This is not a recent realization. This is something that we've believed for a long time, and we've been working ceaselessly our entire adult lives to raise the consciousness of humanity to usher in a golden age for humanity. Now, in the case of Paramahansa Yogananda, who was probably the most successful Indian spiritual teacher to come to America. He established the Self-Realization Fellowship. He taught all over America for many decades. In 1940, it was May 19th, 1940, he gave a talk in Encinitas, California. And that talk is now, today, referred to as the World Crisis Talk. What Yogananda said was, and I quote, "I had thought that through her good qualities, America would escape the calamities of other nations. But a great crisis is coming. A crisis as never before has hit this country. When the false prosperity collapses, what will you do? There will be millions unemployed." And that's what we're witnessing right now. Yogananda went on to say, "Most are now living in blissful oblivion, unaware of the impending emergency. America will experience widespread misery, suffering, and changes. You are used to the better things of life. And when you are obliged to live simply, you won't like it." How can you meet the world crisis that is coming? The best way is to adopt plain living and high thinking. Unless you make drastic changes in your living habits immediately, you will be rudely surprised. Conditions will change in a way you cannot imagine now. You still have food and clothes, even luxuries that people in other nations do not have. So it is best to accustom yourself now to simple living. Choose a dwelling place that is adequate, but not larger than you really need. Make your own clothes. Grow your own vegetable garden. Keep life simple and easy. What God has provided without seeking false and expensive pleasures. Yogananda went on to give more advice about how to live in this time of world crisis. He said, use your free time to read worthwhile books, meditate, and enjoy an uncomplicated life. Isn't this better, simple living, fewer worries, and the time to seek God than to have a huge house, 2 cars, and time payments, and a mortgage that you cannot meet? Man has to go back to the land. I'll repeat, man has to go back to the land. It will come to pass eventually. If you think this isn't so, you will find that you are mistaken. Most of all, I emphasize that you should get busy seeking God through meditation. God can be contacted at any moment, any day. When you meditate, you will find doors opening to him everywhere. When you have communion with him, not all the ravages of the world can take away that joy and peace. Now there's a connection between Paramahansa Yogananda and the next great master that we're going to speak about. And his name is Peter Deunov. Peter Deunov was a Bulgarian master. Many people considered him to be a representative of the great white brotherhood that has guided humanity for eons. Peter Deunov had 40,000 students in Bulgaria, which is a lot of students for a small country the size of Bulgaria. Now you might think, well, why don't we know about him? There's a good reason. He and his students were persecuted first by the German Nazis and then by the Russian communists. They were persecuted and they were driven underground. They had to bury all of his books that he had written and his lectures. He had given over 3,000 lectures in his lifetime. They were all buried. And then when the Soviet Union fell, they could dig them back up. Up until that time, they were so persecuted that children would inform on their parents and parents would inform on their children. It was a very dark time in Bulgaria. But then, after the Soviet Union fell, his writings were dug up and they're available today, and you can read them on the internet. Now, Peter Deunov was respected by great people all over the world. Albert Einstein said, "The whole world bows down before me. I bow down before the master Peter Deunov of Bulgaria." Jiddu Krishnamurti, who turned down the request by the Theosophical Society to become the Maitreya, he said that the world master was in Bulgaria. Krishnamurti said the world master was in Bulgaria. Another great man who spoke highly of Peter Deunov was Cardinal Giuseppe Roncalli, who later was elected to be the Pope. He became Pope John the 23rd. He said, "In the present epoch, the greatest philosopher living on earth is Peter Deunov." At one point, Yogananda was traveling around the world looking for locations to start what he called world brotherhood colonies. Yogananda said that it was extremely important that when the world crisis finally came about, and he said it would be decades until this happened, he said it will be extremely important for like-minded spiritual people to come together and form self-sufficient communities where they could grow their own food and live together with like-minded people who were pursuing spirituality. So at one point, Yogananda was in Greece, and he was looking for a location to start a world brotherhood colony. And one of his students said to Yogananda, "We should go to Bulgaria because there are beautiful mountains there, the Rila Mountains, which are incredibly beautiful." And Yogananda said to his student, "This is as far as I can go. The spirit of truth is already there." Peter Deunov was born in 1864 and died in 1944. As I said before, he had over 40,000 students in Bulgaria. And shortly before he passed away, he made a prophecy of the coming of the new golden age for humanity. He said, "Everything that is around you will soon collapse and disappear. Nothing will be left of this civilization and its perversity, and no trace will be left of this erroneous culture that maintains men in the yoke of ignorance." He said, "The best and only thing that man can do now is to turn towards God and improve himself consciously, to elevate his vibratory level so as to find himself in harmony with the powerful wave that will soon submerge him." Peter Deunov spoke about a wave of electricity that was traveling through the universe and would soon hit the planet Earth, bringing about all this change. He said the fire that accompanies the new conditions offered to our planet will rejuvenate, purify, reconstruct everything. The matter will be refined. Your hearts will be liberated from anguish, troubles, incertitude, and they will become luminous. Everything will be improved, elevated. The thoughts, sentiments, and emotions, the negative acts, will be consumed and destroyed. He went on to say, "You have no idea of the grandiose future that awaits you. A new earth will soon see day. The new era is that of the sixth race. The sixth race will be built itself around the idea of fraternity. There will be no more conflicts of personal interests. The single aspiration will be to conform himself to the law of love. The sixth race will be that of love. The founders of this civilization, I call them brothers of humanity, or also children of love. They will be unshakable for the good, and they will represent a new type of men. He concluded, in the new race, love will manifest in such a perfect manner that today's man can only have a very vague idea. A new culture will see the light of day. It will rest on three principles, three foundations: the elevation of woman, the elevation of the meek and the humble, and protection of the rights of man. So you see, both of these great masters saw the changes that have come and are here now. You know, great enlightened masters can see the future. In fact, I was just reading yesterday that quantum physicists now believe that the future and the present are coexistent. Maybe that's how they can do it. But great masters throughout the ages have made prophecies. And Yogananda and Peter Deunov spoke quite dramatically and in detail about the time that we're going through right now. But as I said before, their message was not one of doom and gloom. Their message was that this was the dawning of a new golden age for mankind, for humanity. And this is what we have to keep in mind. We should take quite seriously what they advised us to do. I believe very strongly that we should listen to them and we should follow their advice. As Yogananda said, now is the time to turn within, to experience God, to find God, and to use our time to meditate and to have communion with God. And, as he emphasized, it's time to live simply and think highly, to raise our thinking. And most importantly, as Peter Deunov said, the most important thing now is to love, because a new civilization is dawning based on love. So thank you for watching. And in the third episode of this podcast, we're going to explore 2 other prophecies by indigenous people that are extremely dramatic and profound. Thank you for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe to this channel, and that way you'll be notified of future episodes. We're very excited to be making these because people have asked us for many, many years to make our teachings available on the internet. And that time has come. That time is now. Namaste.